Hello YouTube, Goddard Radio Moscow here again with another beer review for you as is usual. Now I'm continuing on with my German series of beer reviews today, and as I mentioned in the last couple of videos, I've got a few Christmas and winter beers to actually have a look at today. So we're going to have a little look at a brewery you've probably heard of for this one. This is the Fürstenberg Winterbier. Now a point to note is actually, as far as I understand, there is actually a slight difference in the style between a Winterbier and a Weihnachtsbier. A Weihnachtsbier will usually either be a sort of light Märzen, if you like, or a Pilsner style beer, whereas the Winterbiers tend to be a sort of Vienna lager, and they have a nice bit of spice element, and they're sort of really dark reddish amber colour. So a little interesting point there, but we'll soon see when we get this guy out and get on with the tasting with this guy. But as is usual with my beer reviews, I'll just take you through a bit of a history of the brewery, as I always like to do. I find it quite interesting, but as I always say, if you are simply just interested in the tasting of this beer, then feel free to go on towards the second part of the video and you will catch that particular segment. But anyway, Fürstenberg actually comes from a small town called Donaueschingen in the southern part of the Baden-Württemberg state in Germany, actually in the very southwestern part of the country, very close to the Swiss border in fact. The town only has a population of about 21,000 people, and the brewery always describes itself as being from the Black Forest. I have another beer for you which is called Rothaus, and they also describe themselves as being from the Black Forest, of course. So these are the two main Black Forest breweries, but their current brewing facility is actually one of the largest in Germany, of course, and I really want to actually go and see one of these big industrial German plants at one point for the breweries. But the brewery history actually goes back to the year 1283, and it goes back to when King Rudolf von Habsburg gave the Bar county, in which Donaueschingen is located, to Heinrich von Fürstenbergische. And one of the privileges that actually went with this feudal estate was the right to brew beer, and this can actually be seen written in the original manuscript, which you can see in the Fürstenberg archives, which you can see if you actually go and visit the brewery there. You can get tours and everything of this brewery here, and as always the brewery website is in the video description there, so check it out if you are interested. But the following generations of the family took advantage of this privilege of brewing beer, and they created a very strong brewery business. Now in 1705 Prince Anton Egon decided to put the brewery on a proper commercial footing, and at the end of the 18th century the brewery had actually in fact produced 1.65 million litres of beer, a hell of a lot of beer in fact. And the brewery actually expanded very rapidly with the introduction of the first railways in Germany in the 19th century there. But one of the most famous master brewers of Fürstenberg, Josef Münz, he created the Fürstenberg Salvator in 1886, which was apparently the favourite beer of the famous German Chancellor Otto von Bismarck. I think he was the one who actually united Germany back in the 1870s or 1860s. I can't quite remember when that was in fact, but Otto von Bismarck, very, very famous guy nonetheless. But Josef Münz actually also produced a Pilsner beer, which was the favourite beer of the last German Kaiser Wilhelm II. And he actually announced this beer as the table drink of His Majesty the Kaiser in the year 1905. So this brewery does have quite a prestigious history there. But in more recent times, the beer has actually become famous through its presence on many cruise ships, and also with Lufthansa, the German flag-carrying airline, of course. But since the 1960s, they've also bought up many other breweries, and this includes Bilger, who are from Gottmandingen, and also Riegeler, whose production facility was actually moved to the main facility of Fürstenberg in Donaueschingen. But since 2005, the company has actually also been a member of the Brau Holding International AG Group, who owns shares in Heineken, Schorghuber, and also Paulaner, the big brewery from Munich. I've reviewed one or two of their beers for you already. But it was basically agreed with when they came into this group, that Fürstenberg would be an independent company within the group, and that all their facilities on Donaueschingen would remain under the Fürstenberg control. They wouldn't be forced to brew anything else. But today the company actually employs around 300 different people, and they have a sales volume of 700,000 hectolitres of beer per year. As I mentioned to you earlier, the Fürstenberg export is actually the one that you can get quite easily worldwide here. And recently they actually also released the Edelbrau Pils beer, which was to celebrate the 725th anniversary of the awarding of the brewing process to the town. As I mentioned, this went to the Fürstenbergische family from the Habsburg monarchs, of course. But to tell you just a little bit about the other beers that you can get from Fürstenberg, Fürstenberg. Under the Fürstenberg brand, you can get the Premium Pilsner and the Precious Export. I believe that's the one that's available worldwide. You can get the Hefeweizens, obviously a Kristall, a Dunkel and a Naturtrub. I explained that in my other videos there, the 3 different common styles of Hefeweizen in Germany. As I mentioned just before as well, you can get the Edelbrau, the 725th anniversary beer, and you can also get the Gold Pils as well. And they also have a Radler and a Cola beer, and also obviously their seasonal beers, Weihnachtsbier, Oktoberfest and Carnival beer, a very famous part of German culture here in Baden-Württemberg in fact. And also under the Riegeler brand you can get a Pils Export and a Land beer. But anyway, that's enough of the Fürstenberg history for you, so let's get on to the tasting of this guy. In fact, I'll just bring up the camera and let you have a little look at the sort of the label and stuff here. This one's actually got a really nice label. You can see here the Fürstenberg crest on it. You can see a little hut just on the edge of the Black Forest there, of course. It's actually a really nice one, a very sort of German and Swiss style hut there. In fact, you can see, maybe you can see it better on the top here. This is the Fürstenberg crest rather, and it says underneath the site 1283, which of course is when the brewing rights were given to the town of Donaueschingen, of course. And here is the bottle cap here. This is the standard Fürstenberg bottle cap, of course, but a really nice looking bottle on this one. Actually, this one looks quite good. I might keep this one. It's got a little bit of German writing on it here. It just basically says brewed in accordance with the German Reinheitsgebot, obviously the German purity law, and it says it's got a very, very nice aromatic flavour, of course. So this one should be quite interesting. But let's get this guy out and get on with the tasting here. As I mentioned earlier, this one is a Vienna lager kind of style of beer, and it's 5.3% on the ABV scale. So let's get this guy out and get on with the tasting here. Nice little bit of smoke on the opening there, as you can see. But let's just get this guy out and get on with the tasting. You can actually smell this one. It's got quite an interesting smell just as you're pouring it here. It's got a nice sort of cereal smell as you're pouring it out here. Let's just see if I can get all of this out. Typical German head on this one, of course. You can see that, just sort of 2 fingers there, slight off-white beigey head. Nice looking beer, in fact, actually. But yeah, really nice. As I mentioned earlier, this guy has a sort of reddish amber, deep kind of reddy amber gold colour to it. There's a good bit of carbonation that's visible here. As you can mention, just about 1.5 fingers of head, off-white, but that's sort of going away. It was about 2 fingers just a little minute ago. In terms of the aroma of this guy, good. It's a very malty smelling beer actually, and there is a little bit of cereal in there, but mainly sort of roasted malts, bready and doughy aromas. Maybe just a little bit of kind of reddish fruits, in fact. It's a really nice smelling malty beer. This is what you would expect from a sort of Winterbier, in fact. I've had the Heidelberger Winterbier. Hopefully I can actually find a bottle of that to review for you at some point, because it's really nice. But yeah, a lot of roasted malts here, bready and doughy aromas, but there's a nice bit of brown sugar in there as well. And I just think some nice sort of dark fruits, maybe a little bit of plums or raisins or something like that. But let's give this guy a taste and see how we get on. Yeah, big malty base on this one, as I would expect. It's actually quite well carbonated on the first taste there. You can see the head's just starting to fade on this guy. But yeah, quite a complex malt base to this one, in fact. It kind of opens up with just a little bit of the roasted character. It's quite an interesting opening, in fact, as well. It's definitely the roasted character that's coming in at the start there. But you've got some nice bread, nutty and perhaps woody elements in the middle there. Maybe just a slight little hint of vanilla, in fact. There's a sort of light hint at the top of the mouth of the kind of dark fruits that you would expect from the Winterbier. Some nice raisins, maybe just a little bit of plum, but mainly a sort of raisin fruity flavour after the sort of malts in the middle kind of subside a little bit. But yeah, definitely, this is a nice malty base in the middle of this. Like I say, You're opening up with that roasted character, and you've got some nice bready and doughy base in the middle with a bit of nutty character. And you've also got little woody elements in there that are giving it some hint of kind of vanilla flavours in there. And then at the top of the mouth, just as that subsides, you're starting to get the nice raisiny fruits in there. And it's actually finishing with a sort of grassy hot bitterness at the end there. It's slightly dry on the finish as well. But yeah, quite a nice winter beer. In fact, this one probably, I would maybe go as far as saying this winter beer is actually better than the other Christmas beers I've reviewed so far. But yeah, really nice kind of complex malt base. In terms of the mouthfeel with this guy, definitely a mid-bodied one, I would say. But it's still, despite that, there's a little bit of easy drinking character to it. It is more of a mid-bodied one. I'm actually getting a little bit of spice flavour out of it now, actually, now that I've taken a few gulps. But it's definitely a mid-bodied beer. Yeah, it's still easy drinking. The carbonation does have a little good bit of attack to it, but the beer does still have that sort of German trademark smoothness to it. And it is actually quite crisp at the same time as having all that good flavour to it. It's a very nice winter beer, if you like. But I really like this sort of style of beer. I was really impressed by the Heidelberger one, which they have here in one of my local pubs. So if you ever get the chance to try the Heidelberger winter beer, give it a go and let me know what you think. But this is a really nice one, and I have to admit, when I do like the Fürstenberg export Pilsner, and I'm not disappointed with this winter beer, if you like, either. Obviously, I'm not sure if it's quite as good as the Heidelberger one that I've had, but I had that on tap, so obviously it's a little bit fresher. But in terms of a bottle conditioned winter beer, this one's quite a nice one. I quite like it when you've got a little bit of complexity to the malt base, and this one certainly has that nice little bit of woody and nutty aromas in there and flavours. Really, really nice beer. If you're into your beers that have a nice sort of big malty base on this one, definitely give it a check out. And if you have tried this one yourself, as is usual, please let me know in the comments section your own thoughts on this beer, and indeed suggest other beers for me from Germany to have a little look at while I'm over here. I'll probably only get this opportunity once to actually have such a good selection of German beer, of course. But thanks again for watching my beer reviews. Please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. I hope you found this one informative, and I'll catch you soon with another German beer review. I've got one more winter beer to do for you, and then two. Well, I've filmed one already, and I've got another one to do. But thanks again for your continued support of my channel, and I'll catch you soon with another German beer review. Cheers.